Okay, it is 6:30, April 25th, 2023. I'm gonna call this special session workshop together. If someone would stand for the invocation and pledge allegiance.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for and ask for your blessings on this gathering here tonight. We ask for your guidance and wisdom to engage in meaningful discussion and make good decisions for our city that will glorify your name. Father, let us be mindful of the purpose as leaders and to listen carefully and thoughtfully to the concerns of our citizens. We pray that you will watch over all of us and walk beside us as we go about our daily lives. We ask all of these things in your Son's holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any announcements? No announcements. The special session is discussion and or action to approve the resolution 332-4-25-2023, approving the form of articles of incorporation and authorizing the filing thereof and the creation of West Tawakoni Economic Development. This is something that was supposed to have been done 20 years ago or something.
Well, when it first started, it hadn't been.
I've signed it. You want this copy, Annette?
I'll get him to sign that.
That's all we need on that, right?
Need a motion.
Yeah, we need a motion, you know.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 332-4-25-2023, approving the form of articles of incorporation and authorizing the filing thereof and the creation of West Tawakoni Economic Development Corporation.
I'll second that.
Chris says all in favor.
Kevin Featherston.
Leon Myers.
Pam Reed.
Robin Meyer.
Chris Burkett.
Okay, next is the Market on the Lake workshop. I'm gonna take part of the blame for this, for not following up, but Chris, you hold a great deal of the blame as well. And if you can't admit that, then I feel for you, and obviously you're not. You have failed for 2 years at that, and nothing was done. We're not even getting receipts for anything. I can say anything, so you just don't take the blame for anything, do you?
Well, there's probably lots of blame. We just need to figure out what needs to be done to fix it.
What I'm open to suggestions.
Got receipts.
You've given her all the receipts you got from the vendors?
Not single receipts, but
Okay, well,
I can
that's
show
all the
you what
receipts.
I've got. And I got a receipt from Annette.
I know, but we need receipts from the vendors.
Okay, I've got several.
If you don't have them all, you don't have any. You
That's
can't
what
have
we need to
several.
set in place is what is needed. That
Yeah.
was never done from the beginning at all, as a city, as a group,
Okay.
as a
Okay.
market. So that's what we need to know is what is needed.
We need receipts from everybody or for everybody that any money you receive right now, an auditor is not going to know where that money comes from. They have no idea. All they see is a spreadsheet with names on it. That doesn't tell them anything. There's no receipts, so there has to be receipts. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Annette.
That's
We
the
have
way
to-
we do it.
Yeah.
That's the way the city does it.
That's what we've got to have.
Okay, but we were never told before now. Nothing was ever
I mean-
said to us.
We've been dealing with audits. He's been on council for 6 years. I mean, it's common sense to me.
So have they said anything?
Well, not yet. They hadn't got to it, but they
Because
will get to
because
it.
they're 2 or 3 years behind.
No, they're working on 21 right now.
And they'll be turning right into 22.
Yeah.
So there's just been miscommunication. The money's been turned into Annette. And
Yes,
it gives the secretary a receipt for the money received. There's never been a request for anything different. Nobody knew to do anything different. There's no finger pointing. Nobody knew. There was nothing put forth between this council, the Nothing. So that's what we need to be figuring out is what is needed, not trying to point fingers or
I
take
would
blame.
just assume turn everything over to Market on the Lake and the city not having nothing to do with it. Cause we had to open a checking account. We got 14 accounts now.
Is that what you're asking for, Jim? Is that?
That's what I would like to see. I mean,
Totally
that would resolve everything.
That's not that easy either. You got a 501 that has to be done. You got a lot more stuff that has to be done separately.
So you want us to do the admin part of it? Take the money, do the audit, do all that.
This was supposed to be a branch of the city. This was something that the city put together.
And
If
when
we're
they-
saying now that we don't want to do that, that's different. But this is something that was part of the city.
It would just be different. I mean, you know as well as I do, there should have been minutes, agendas, minutes, and everything else, but nothing was ever done. If you're gonna have a city entity, you have to have agendas, you have to have meetings, you have to have minutes, and it all has to be published. 72 hours. It's no different than the city council meeting. It's no different.
Okay, when we started out, I remember the meeting. You said, we will take that money and we will put it in this line item. You said, whatever account that was, there's $200 in that account. And the money was never deposited in that particular line item. I
We don't
remember
have a
that.
line item for it.
There was something that had $200 in it.
It wasn't me that said anything about that, because I
It
didn't
was
know
a
anything
part.
about it.
It was the park.
Yeah, I think there was a line item that was a park, but then
Yes.
after Annette talked to, I don't remember if it was Mac or who, somebody told you do not do that.
But I don't remember $200.
There was some small account or there was something.
Yeah.
Oh, it
It was
wasn't.
something to do with the park.
It may not have been
remember
the park. It may not have been the park. It may have been something
It
else.
was a part.
It was the park.
But I remember that the reason why we ended up, and I think we talked about it maybe in another council meeting. And it was decided that we were gonna have to make another, checking account because
So
something about the funds that were already in that account, it was not gonna be right for us to mix those funds because they came from wherever they came from.
the last 2 years during the books when we were putting the money together, figuring everything out. First year it was to that line item for the 200. Second year was it needed a completely different
Line item.
line
Yeah.
item.
I think the moral of the story is us as a council, some that aren't here now and some that have came into this, we screwed up. I mean, and I think that a lot of us have blame here, so I guess that doesn't really matter. I mean, maybe who cares if there's more blame there, more blame here, whatever. But at the end of the day, if any of us say that we want to do something, and if we don't do it and we don't ask questions or we don't push the envelope, then that's where the issue lies. We've got to push the envelope, right? I mean, it's like you're over another committee besides not being on council, and I mean, there's things that you have to ask for or push and say, hey, I want to do this. I think Leon used to be over something with the park, some kind of, what was it? There was, y'all had a Friends of the Park or something.
Yeah, that didn't have anything to do with the city.
Okay, but I mean, I think y'all been on something, and then you got Keep West Tawakoni Beautiful. We've been dealing with them lately. I mean, they kind of do those same things. They have meetings, agendas, blah, blah, this, that, and the other. I think that's where we've kind of all as a group failed.
Well, I know that Kathy out here has asked questions over and over and over again to members of the office trying to get things figured out. So, and I know that we've talked about it at different council meetings. So you're right. We can't put the blame on any one person here. It's probably all our fault.
Like I said,
But what we have to really decide is, number one, are we a city entity or not? Number two, if we are a city entity, where does that money go?
Well, there's already an account opened,
Yeah.
but I think we all need to be realistic and it's not really a city entity. It's kind of like
It's like,
It's kind of like
Keep walking.
keep West Walking beautiful.
yes, it
And
is.
that, correct me if I'm wrong, pretty much all you do with them is they bring you monies when they have monies, and it's got receipts with all the monies to prove it. And
They do not have a receipt book.
what do they give you?
They bring money in and I receipt it in our receipt.
Well, I
book.
guess if they're gonna do a trash thing or
But
something. then-
just like this cleanup they just had, they brought donations that they had and deposited and wanted it deposited into that account.
Right.
So it's not much.
And you
different than
receipt,
what
you
we
gave them a
already
receipt for
do.
what
I
they brought
give
you,
them a
pretty much the
receipt.
same thing
I
that's
give
been
them
going
a
on.
receipt
But I guess that's a donation. That's a little bit different than
and they
a
don't
price tag
write
item.
receipts when they get those donations at the dump. So,
Well, and a donation is a donation, clearly a donation, right? It's gonna be kind of hard to give somebody a receipt. I guess you could, whoever has gotten a receipt for a donation. I've never heard of that. But I think the point of what we're doing at the park is we're charging for a slot, right? We put a price tag on it. So typically, common sense in the world, if anytime you go somewhere, there's a price tag on something, you pay for it, 9 times out of 10, you have a receipt offered to you. I think that's what we need to look at. And so we don't give the auditors any question of doubt or anything to muddy the waters, because it's already tough. They already come back and ask you all the time for
Well,
boxes full of stuff.
We can't do anything of what's happened in the
No,
past,
no.
obviously. But I will tell you that Kathy has been keeping wonderful, wonderful records. And if the auditors want her sheets, you can tell exactly who paid from her spreadsheets.
Is that what you give us every month?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't
I'll
think,
do it right here.
So-
I don't think it's a matter if they
No, we got
want it.
it.
I think they need,
We got
I think in a situation like
Receipts,
this,
too.
the more we can give, the better off we are,
Right.
because you
And
can
so-
answer questions before questions are asked.
So from this point on, it won't be hard for us to give receipts.
Right, it would just be boom, 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 and roll.
And we just need to work on that.
And I think I've seen something like
And
this.
then Annette gave me this.
when she brings the money in after they have market on the lake,
Yeah,
then I
that's what I
put
see
it
in
in
my
the receipt.
So my suggestion,
I didn't know it was
my
wrong.
suggestion would be if this is gonna be a part of the city or under the cities, like keep West Walking beautiful, and I thought we have another one. Do we have another one?
No,
Thought there was another.
that's the only one similar.
Is that the only one similar?
Yeah.
Anyway,
The one that has
Um,
money and budgets and stuff like that.
that's right. There was a park board or something at one point, I think, but I don't, but that's gone.
They closed
But,
that
so,
and it just came part of the
My
city.
thoughts would be, and I see a lot of the same people on that group, they're rubbing shoulders with people on what are we gonna call this? Because we've been calling it the wrong thing, that's part of what we're supposed to do.
Market on the lake.
The West Walkeny Farmers Market is what we're gonna make it, is that correct?
No,
Yeah.
Or we're
We're
gonna
gonna
call it
change it.
Market on the Lake?
Market on the lake.
All right.
Market on the lake.
So Market on the Lake, rub shoulders and say, hey, how are y'all doing this? You know, and it's pretty simple. Because a lot of people that are involved or have been around and seen council meetings and seen other groups and they know that there's minutes, they know that there's agendas, they know, these things are sort of things that we've all seen. And let's just do this thing by the book and make sure that we're crossing all of our T's, dotting our I's, and we shouldn't have an issue.
Yeah, we could, I don't think there would be an issue just starting at this point, but we can't go back and change what's already happened.
No, I
know
So
that.
starting at this point, I think there won't be any problem with doing agendas, doing minutes, doing whatever.
And I think some of the problem with the meetings was that half the board quit and they couldn't get a quorum to have a meeting,
Yeah, that was a big
an
part.
official meeting, so there was just 2 or 3 of them, and
I think I came to the first one and it was packed.
Yeah,
And if we're all being honest with each other and realistic here, if that happens too often, then obviously it might need to be relooked at whether or not this is a viable thing. If we can't get enough people to participate, then it's going to be tough to do it and do it correctly, because then you're putting all the load on 1 or 2 people, and that's not fair. It's not. So
No,
that's where we need to be realistic. And if we can't get participants to participate correctly and try to help spread this load out and carry the load, we don't need to do it. Because there's no reason to stress people out like that.
Well, I
But
think
in
at this
that,
point
right
we
there, what
do.
you just said though, we have a hard time getting people to even join our boards, our other boards and stuff. So how are we gonna spread the load if we don't have people that are willing to step up and do it?
And I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't make it right for us to create something that's not gonna be able to be done at its best. Because it's not gonna be able to be done at its best when you're stressing one or two or three people out. But then that's not the biggest part of it. It's not gonna be able to be done legally, because you do have to have meetings. You do have to have a quorum to have a meeting.
I don't
Those
think we
things
have
need
a
to be
problem
done.
with that anymore. After we first started,
And all I was saying was if we
Yeah.
do have that problem, we need to all agree here as a council that we keep our thumb on these things. And this falls for every group in our city, because that's what our job is as a council,
Yeah.
is to make sure that our city is running correctly. So if we see these problems coming up, we don't need to sit on them for 2 years like we have. We need to bring this thing, reel it in and say, look, this is not working legally, right? And it is not working correctly, and we pull the rug. That's the right thing for us to do as a city. I mean, we don't just let things just
So what
keep
do-
on just
What
barely
do we need to
moving
do
along.
first? The resolution?
we need to do,
We
we
gotta
need to change the name
We gotta
on
change
the
the name.
resolution for sure.
Well, we've got to change
And
other things on there
we have to
too.
change the
The
numbers.
That's already been done.
At the last
Already
meeting,
done.
the last
No,
meeting,
we
we actually checked.
Well,
We
we
already
already
did
did
that.
that.
We already did that for the
We did
number
that.
of people.
Yeah, we already did that last.
12 to 7, right?
Yes,
what we
12
did?
to 7.
Yes.
12 to 7.
According to the attorney, we just need to make a resolution to change the name
The
to
name,
Market on the Lake.
That's correct.
Exactly what he said.
Is it just Market on the Lake, or is it West Tawakoni?
No.
Market
Market on the lake.
Market on the
Yeah,
Lake.
that's how we're advertising it.
Yeah.
So we need to do it that way. That makes it easy. That way nobody has to change their thoughts on saying it.
Well, and it matches all the other
Yes,
paperwork here
that's
too.
right.
Okay, so that's all we need to do for the June meeting, is that what it is? What is today?
Be the main meeting.
25th.
May,
Well, April 25th for today. That's all we need. That's all we do today is
yeah, I know
that
that.
resolution.
So we're talking May the 9th on the agenda.
Yes. Because you can't do it today. You can't change it.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. What else? Have we covered everything?
You'll need to come up with a budget. Once you can have your meeting, then you'll have your budget and what your goal is for the use of this money, or that you're collecting the money for.
Yeah, that was we never,
So is that something we're wanting to put together now or have before the next?
I think that would be something that y'all's group would decide
you'll
Yeah,
need
that's
to-
what I meant.
When you have your meeting.
and bring it back to the council.
I'm assuming y'all are gonna have a meeting between now and 9.
When are your meetings?
Third Wednesday.
Third Wednesday.
So we won't have one before the council meeting.
So we wanna make it to June?
Except for
do
January,
the-
February, and March.
Do this on the June meeting?
Yeah, we'd have to have it in the June meeting.
That'll be June the 13th.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, for their meeting is the Wednesday after our meeting. The Wednesday week.
Kimmy, if you will, go ahead and start your May and a June. You can just add June and, then you don't have to remember it. Just start a template. What else?
May will be the resolution.
Correct.
How are we going to record, or, we have resolutions, one thing, we'll have minutes and agendas and all that. But, y'all are gonna decide in y'all's May meeting about how the money's to be spent. to bring before council, how are we going to record? I guess just have it in the minutes?
That would all be combined and from this budget moving forward, because you're really you'll be preparing a budget for what's the upcoming year anyway,
We can't add a line item right now, can
that
we? Too quick books.
for, I'm gonna have to talk to the auditor and
We need
find
to
out
lock down right now.
how to, add a checking account.
That's what I was saying. Does this need to be done now or be prepared before our next budget meeting?
Well, that's why I don't know. I thought it was locked down, or is it just only the column?
I can't go back.
No, I know that, but
I mean, I'm just saying, I can't go back.
you add a line item?
How to add a line item?
Oh, I can add a line item, but I can't add a checking account without permission from them, from the auditors.
Oh, but you already got a checking account.
I have a
Okay.
checking
There we
account,
go.
but not in QuickBooks.
Yeah, there's an
Wait.
account. There's an account, it just don't
Okay,
show
okay,
up in
I got you.
Yeah, we have checking accounts, we have the bank
Okay,
statements.
all right, that makes sense. Okay,
So you keep going like it is until you can figure out how to fix
Yeah,
it.
it's under the general fund now, so, right?
No,
No.
there is no checking account in QuickBooks for Market on the Lake. That's what was not established. We opened a checking account, they've been paying what they needed to pay,
In our district. Yes.
which they haven't wrote hardly any checks.
Right.
It's been very little that's come out of it.
Most of our things that have occurred, expenses, our members have donated.
Paid for this and reimbursements.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time we haven't even taken reimbursements on things.
Is that it? We covered everything?
Well, so, yeah, in May, we're gonna do the ordinance, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we said?
Resolution.
Resolution.
And then June will be, information back from their meeting with their
And you'll
agenda.
have
Yeah.
a list of members, their duties,
You
and
already have all that. Do you have the duties on the list?
I'm sorry.
The duties, secretary, treasurer?
well, I've got this one that shows 11, but I don't
Yeah.
know who the 7 are.
Okay, so we'll need to define that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who the,
It's in that last packet.
Yeah, it's in the last
That
packet.
was in the
That's
last.
what we had right here.
Yeah.
It's showing the old, the new, and then the ones that have stayed on.
And who's going to be the one to set the agenda? The agenda will need to be given to us so we can post it.
Okay, they had me down as treasurer, but I can do both. Or Pam West secretary, but she's doing that.
We'll have to
Well,
work through it
I
next year.
was
We'll have it defined.
initially, and
Yeah,
then
we need to-
Alabama-
just as long as I can-
We'll have it all defined before the.
so here you've got 8. Remember we talked about this last
Yeah,
time?
we took Cassie off and made her an alternate.
Okay. So you got Kathy Weary, Ellison Bell, Rick Bauer, Adelina, Chris, Kathy, and Pam. Is that it? Anybody else?
Annette, can you make some kind of list for Kathy, so she'll know exactly what information you need from her each month?
Well, for, just
Going forward.
basically your agenda and
The
then,
list I've been given.
and then your, minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we'll need the agenda minutes and then,
And just receipts, right?
the receipts and the money, yeah. And then we'll need the budget, at the big,
After,
at the
yeah.
beginning of the year. or-
Yeah, so like, when y'all have your June meeting, then maybe you can set your budget moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, and the money, I guess, that you have in there will be starting, this will be your starting balance. And then the rest of it will be receivables and payables.
That'll actually work good because we'll have our budget workshops in July,
What
starting
is,
in
what's
July.
that, what, 35, 3,200, is that what?
That'll work good.
What is the
You know what the
balance,
balance
like 3,200?
36, I think.
36. Oh, yeah, you've had.
Yeah,
since
you
then,
can
that's
give some
right,
more money
that's right,
since then, that's right.
that's right. Okay, if that's it, Chair will entertain a motion on that one.
Well, I'll say this real
Okay,
quick.
go ahead.
I mean, before y'all get ready to start doing your budgets, which everybody's capable, I'm sure, but rather than trying to figure anything out or whatever, I would definitely urge you to talk to Keep West Walking Beautiful group, or even the library, because the library, what they turn in, it's a really nice budget. I mean, the way it's out and everything. I'm always a big fan of not reinventing the wheel, and because there's other people that's made wheels and they've been rolling for a while, so I always try to ask other people. You said you want a motion?
I'll entertain
I'll
one.
make a motion, we adjourn.
I
Chris,
second that motion.
Kevin, and,
Yeah.
you're,
All right, I'm gonna go with this one now.
you are?
Everybody in favor?
John didn't want to
of
get it for me.
Everybody in favor?
Oh, that's right, yeah. I'm
Kevin
sorry.
Featherston.
May I, Mike?
Can't read,
I guess
It's
it's
what-
good.
Wow.
John didn't want to get it for me, he thought I'd send him to not go and do it.
When you think
I don't deal stolen goods.
Me either.
Kathy,